The Golden State Warriors entered the season with ambitions of reclaiming their throne, restoring the dynasty identity that once terrified the league. With a seasoned core, improved bench depth, and a coaching staff intent on shaking off the turbulence of recent years, the franchise hoped this season would represent renewal rather than regression. But the NBA landscape can shift suddenly, sometimes with nothing more than a few pointed words spoken at the wrong time, or, depending on who you ask, the right time. That moment arrived when Jimmy Butler delivered a series of candid, stinging comments that have reverberated throughout the league and sparked a storm of speculation around the Warriors' stability, chemistry, and long-term direction. Butler, known for his blunt honesty and refusal to sugarcoat reality, spoke with a conviction that instantly generated headlines. While his comments were not directed at a single individual, the implications were clear. He believes the Warriors are in deeper trouble than they appear, and their aura of championship resilience has all but vanished. The ripples from his statements have grown into a full-blown discussion, leading analysts, fans, and even players to question whether Golden State is facing an identity crisis far more severe than previously acknowledged. This crisis is not born solely from Butler's words. Instead, his comments have illuminated issues simmering beneath the surface, issues the Warriors have attempted to navigate quietly. The timing, the tone, and the consequences of Butler's remarks have collectively placed the Warriors under an unrelenting spotlight, exposing the fractures threatening to derail their season. Butler's blunt assessment. Jimmy Butler is arguably one of the most respected voices in the NBA, not just because of his talent, but because of his competitive spirit. When he speaks about toughness, accountability, and mental fortitude, players listen. Coaches listen. Fans listen. And front offices pay attention, even when the words sting. In his latest interview, Butler suggested that the Warriors have lost their edge, a claim that immediately struck nerves. He emphasized that championship teams must exhibit hunger, urgency, and unity, and questioned whether Golden State still embodies those qualities. Without naming names, he implied that certain players no longer carry the same fire that once defined their dynasty, and that internal disconnects are evident even to those outside the organization. The effect was explosive. Within hours, social media was swarming with reactions. Some praised Butler for speaking uncomfortable truths that others have sidestepped. Others accused him of stirring controversy for attention. But perhaps the most significant reaction came from within the Warriors' own circle, where the comments reportedly sparked internal conversations about leadership, accountability, and direction. A dynasty in decline? To understand why Butler's remarks hit so deeply, one must examine the broader context of the Warriors' current state. While the franchise still boasts future Hall of Famers and championship experience, the inconsistencies have mounted. The sharpness and swagger that once made Golden State a ruthless opponent have been replaced by stretches of sloppy execution, defensive breakdowns, and emotional volatility. Key players have struggled to find rhythm, and role players have been unable to consistently fill the gaps. The celebrated motion offense has stalled at times, reduced to isolation possessions and contested shots. Defensive intensity has fluctuated dramatically from game to game, raising questions about focus and conditioning. For years, the Warriors thrived on discipline, communication, and cohesion. Now, those elements appear fractured, and Butler's comments force the public to confront that reality. His words triggered a widespread debate. Is the Warriors' dynasty still alive, or is it entering its inevitable downfall? Internal tension and leadership questions. One of the most significant issues highlighted in the aftermath is the question of leadership. Steph Curry remains the face of the franchise, the emotional anchor, the calming force, the offensive engine. But even he cannot single-handedly manage locker room tensions, especially when frustration begins to mount. Draymond Green, long regarded as the heart of the defense and the emotional catalyst, has faced his share of controversies and disciplinary issues. While his leadership style was once praised as fiery and passionate, it has increasingly become scrutinized, with critics arguing that his outbursts hinder the team more than they help. Klay Thompson, navigating the continued struggle to regain peak form after devastating injuries, is grappling with the pressure of contract uncertainty, fluctuating performance, and growing speculation about his role in the team's future. Butler's comments amplified all these concerns, especially his assertion that the Warriors don't look as connected as they say. His words dredged up silent questions about whether leadership roles have blurred, whether players trust the system as much as before, and whether the coaching staff has lost some command over the locker room. Coaching under fire. Steve Kerr's tenure has often been celebrated as one of the most successful coaching runs in modern NBA history. But even he is not immune to criticism, particularly when the team struggles to sustain momentum. Butler's remarks indirectly cast doubt on whether the coaching staff is inspiring the same level of discipline, hunger, and adaptability that once drove the Warriors' dynasty. Some analysts have suggested that teams may have finally cracked the Warriors system, while others argue that the issue runs deeper, that the system itself only works when powered by players at their peak mentally and physically. Without that fuel, the system falters. Butler's emphasis on edge has raised questions about whether Golden State has become too comfortable, too reliant on past success, and too resistant to change. It has also reignited the debate about whether the Warriors should make bold strategic adjustments, whether to their rotations, game plans, or even personnel, before the season slips out of their hands. Public pressure and media scrutiny. In the modern NBA, narratives shift quickly, and public perception can influence internal morale. Butler's comments have opened the floodgates for a renewed cycle of scrutiny directed at the Warriors. Every missed shot, every turnover, every heated moment on the bench is now examined with heightened intensity. Media analysts dissect body language, rotations, and post-game statements for clues about the team's mental state. Social media adds another layer of tension, as fans oscillate between defending the franchise and demanding major changes. This pressure cooker environment can either galvanize a team or accelerate its collapse. The Warriors have historically thrived under pressure, but the current iteration is older, fatigued, and battling a series of internal and external challenges that differ from previous seasons. Butler's comments only intensified that pressure, placing the organization in a precarious position. Front office dilemmas. Beyond the court, Butler's remarks have also reignited debates within the Warriors' front office. For the past 2 seasons, the franchise has attempted to balance developing young talent with preserving the championship core, creating a dual timeline strategy that many argued was untenable. Some believe the organization has failed to fully commit to either path, resulting in a roster that feels mismatched and inconsistent. Butler's comments about toughness, hunger, and cohesion highlight exactly the kind of attributes that dual timeline experiments often compromise. The front office must now decide whether to make significant moves at the trade deadline, shift their long-term strategy, or remain confident that the current group can right the ship. Butler's public critique may push those decisions into sharper urgency, forcing executives to confront the possibility that the window for contention may be closing faster than expected. Player reactions and locker room fallout. Though most Warriors players have avoided addressing Butler's comments directly, reports indicate that the remarks caused noticeable tension. Some players reportedly dismissed the statements as typical Jimmy Butler tough talk, while others felt stung by the implication that the team lacked heart and unity. Private team meetings have reportedly been held to address communication issues, defensive lapses, and the need for renewed commitment. Whether these meetings were sparked directly by Butler's comments or by the growing internal frustration is unclear, but the timing suggests the remarks added fuel to an already simmering fire. This moment could become a turning point. Either the Warriors rally behind a renewed sense of brotherhood and purpose, or the cracks deepen, leading to further decline. The psychological impact. Another dimension of the crisis involves the mental and emotional toll on the team. Athletes at this level are accustomed to criticism, but Butler's remarks cut deeper because they came from a peer, not a fan or a pundit. When a respected competitor questions your drive, unity, and identity, the impact can be profound. For some players, this might ignite renewed motivation. For others, it might heighten anxiety, frustration, or self-doubt. The team's psychological resilience will be as important as its on-court adjustments. Could Butler be right? The most difficult question for the Warriors and for their fan base is whether Butler's comments reflect an uncomfortable truth. The team that once redefined basketball has undeniably lost some of its spark. Age, injuries, roster turnover, and evolving competition have taken their toll. The aura of invincibility has faded, replaced by a sense of vulnerability that other teams can sense and exploit. Butler's comments may have been blunt, but they highlight issues the Warriors have struggled to resolve: sustaining defensive identity, balancing roles, maintaining emotional discipline, and building trust. These are the foundations of winning, and without them, even the most talented teams crumble. A potential turning point. Despite the crisis, the Warriors still possess the intelligence, experience, and competitive spirit to respond. Championship DNA does not disappear overnight. If the team channels the external criticism into internal fuel, if they restore communication, refine strategy, and re-establish the emotional heartbeat of the group, they can turn this moment into the spark that reignites their season. But the path forward is narrow. The margin for error grows slimmer with each passing game, and the challenges ahead demand unity, discipline, and sacrifice. Butler's comments may have triggered the crisis, but the Warriors' response will determine whether this becomes the beginning of a resurgence or the final chapter of a dynasty. Conclusion. Jimmy Butler's latest comments have done more than create headlines. They have exposed the Warriors' vulnerabilities, ignited debate across the NBA, and intensified the pressure surrounding a franchise fighting to preserve its legacy. Whether his words were an honest assessment, strategic psychological warfare, or simply an emotional expression, one thing is certain: they have forced the Warriors to confront themselves in a way they can no longer ignore. The crisis is real, the questions are urgent, and the stakes are high. The Warriors now face a defining moment, one that could either crumble their foundation or spark their revival. The world is watching to see which path they will choose.